The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Senator Cutter,
Excused.
Danielson, Exum, Fields, Senator Fields,
Excused.
Gardner,
Excused.
Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Henriksen, Huckes Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin,
Excused.
Marchman, Michelson Janae, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Senator Roberts,
Excused.
Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Cutter, Senator Roberts, Mr. President,
Here. The morning roll call is 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused. We do have a quorum. Senator Rich, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand if you can and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of March 6, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Anybody? Opposed, no? No! The ayes obviously have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
March 7, 2024, correctly engrossed Senate Joint Resolution 13, correctly revised House Bill 1067, House Joint Resolution 1019, correctly enrolled Senate Bill 4, Senate Joint Resolution 12.
Committee reports.
March 6, 2024, Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 161 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. And Senate Bill 137 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. March 6, 2024, the Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration has had hearing on the following appointments. Recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirm members of the Colorado Commission on Judicial Discipline for terms expiring June 30, 2027. Ingrid Barrier of Denver, Colorado to serve as an attorney appointed. Stephanie Trujillo of Commerce City, Colorado to serve as a non-attorney appointed. March 6, 2024, Committee on Transportation and Energy, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 100 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 176 by Senators Janal and Hinrichsen and Representatives Epps and McLaughlin, concerning updating the terminology that refers to an individual who is enrolled in the State Medical Assistance Program.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 177 by Senators Mulligan and Simpson and Representatives Catlin and Story, concerning the authority of History Colorado to dispose of its North Storage Facility.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 178 by Senators Hinrichsen and Simpson and Representatives Story and Lindsay, concerning the repeal of a duplicative requirement to maintain an inventory of non-developed state-owned real property.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 179 by Senators Simpson and Hinrichsen, Representatives Catlin and Story, concerning the establishment of a floodplain management program for development.
Local Government and Housing.
House Bill 1002 by Representatives Sirota and Martinez and Senators Marchman and Rich, concerning the enactment of the Social Work Licensure Compact and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1037 by Representatives Epps and DeGree Kennedy and Senator Priola, concerning reducing the harm caused by substance use disorders.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1046 by Representatives Duran and Evans and Senators Colger and Kirkmeyer, concerning measures to enhance child welfare system tools and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1072 by Representatives Byrd and Frizzell and Senators Kirkmeyer and Fields, concerning increased evidentiary requirements in criminal proceedings for protection of victims of sexual assaults.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1131 by Representatives Lukens and Velasco and Senators Roberts and Will, concerning local college districts.
Education.
House Bill 1171 by Representatives Basonecker and Soper and Senator Pelton R, concerning the naturopathic doctor formulary.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1228 by Representative Morrow and Senator Baisley, concerning flexible scheduling options for corrections officers that result in differences in overtime pay.
Business, Labor, and Technology.
House Bill 1234 by Representatives Morrow and Catlin and Senators Roberts and Hanson, concerning the continuation of high-cost support mechanism funding for rural telecommunications providers and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations in the 2023 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Business, Labor, and Technology.
House Bill 1257 by Representatives Catlin and McLaughlin and Senator Will, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Natural Areas Council and in connection therewith implementing the recommendation in the 2023 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Agriculture and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1272 by Representatives Velasco and Soper and Senator Exum, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Fire Commission in accordance with the recommendation in the Department of Regulatory Agencies 2023 Sunset Report and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Agriculture and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1275 by Representatives Catlin and Morrow and Senator Simpson, concerning the continuation of the underfunded Courthouse Facility Cash Fund Commission and in connection therewith implementing the recommendation in the Department of Regulatory Agencies 2023 Sunset Report.
Local Government and Housing.
House Bill 1293 by Representative Clifford and Senator Kolker, concerning voluntary payroll deductions for state employees.
Business, Labor, and Technology. Committee reports.
March 6, 2024, Committee on Education. After consideration on the merits, the committee records the following. Senate Bill 162 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. March 6, 2024, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 142 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. And House Bill 1035 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for the consideration of memorials.
The motion is to proceed out of order for consideration of memorials. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The Senate will now proceed out of order. Consideration of memorials. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Joint Memorial 1?
Senate Joint Memorial 1 by Senator Bridges and Representative Froelich, memorializing Senator Martha Ezard.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Memorial 1 and ask that it be read at length.
Will the clerk please read Senate Joint Memorial 1 at length?
Senate Joint Memorial 1 by Senator Bridges and Representative Froelich, memorializing Senator Martha Ezard. Whereas the tributaries of Martha McKelvin Ezard's life fed a broad landscape of purposes, including politics, journalism, and law, as well as her commitments to her family, her writing, and her winery. And whereas Martha was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, by parents who taught her to stay true to her values and speak up in challenging situations, she earned her BA in journalism at the University of Georgia and her MA in journalism at the University of Missouri. She and her husband, John, a physician, moved to the Denver area in 1968, where they raised their 3 children. And whereas Martha became press aide to Colorado Governor John Love in 1972 and continued in this role to Governor John Vanderhoof after Love was appointed energy czar under President Nixon. And whereas Martha narrowly lost a primary for Colorado Senate seat in 1976, but persevered and was elected to the Colorado House of Representatives in 1978. And whereas she was subsequently elected to the Colorado Senate in 1980, becoming only the 13th woman elected to the body since its creation in 1876. And whereas at the Women Who Govern panel in September 1984, Martha recalled her first day as a representative when she and another female House colleague were asked, "Which one of you ladies is Representative McElderry's secretary?" To which she wryly retorted, "One really good secretary is probably more productive than 10 average state legislators." And whereas during Martha's years in the Colorado House and Senate, she worked diligently on issues related to water conservation, hazardous waste control, equal rights, and sunshine legislation. And whereas while serving in the Colorado Senate, Martha chaired what was at the time called the Health and Environment Committee, was elected chair of the GOP caucus, and earned her JD from the University of Denver College of Law. And whereas she was acknowledged with the 1988 Award for Legislative Excellence from the Colorado Public Health Association. And whereas she was one of the 7 women who launched the Women's Foundation of Colorado in response to a shared dream to strategically invest in the education and future of young women, particularly those from lower income households. And whereas not to be belied by her soft Southern accent, Martha was a force to be reckoned with, a maverick, an independent-minded go-getter, a fighter for justice, and a woman determined to leave the world a better place. And whereas after serving 7 years in the Colorado Senate, feeling that she was more aligned with centrist philosophies, Martha resigned her seat and changed parties. In 1988, she was defeated in the general election for Colorado's 6th congressional district. And whereas following her career in Colorado politics and law, Martha moved back to her native Georgia, where she joined the editorial board of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. For 10 years, she wrote a regular political column and a weekly column. And whereas Martha was most proud of her work on several special projects, including her 1995 series on hiking 80 miles of the Appalachian Trail as one of the journalists from 5 newspapers who combined efforts to hike the trail in its entirety, her 2001 series on the need for indigent defense reform in Georgia, and her 1999 series, The Trees of Our Lives, which focused on saving special old trees in the Atlanta area, and for which she spent a night sleeping over 100 feet high up in a 200-foot-tall tulip poplar tree. And whereas the Society of Professional Journalists recognized Martha with the 2002 Green Eyeshade Award in editorial writing for the series When Justice is a Crime, she also received the 25th Annual Pioneer Black Journalist Award from the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists and the Wilderness Society's Aldo Leopold Award for her environmental writing. And whereas Martha and her husband John rusticated to his family's 5th-generation farm near Tiger, Georgia, on which John grew up, the pair worked tirelessly to create Tiger Mountain Vineyards, whose fine wines won more than 250 awards and helped put Georgia wines on the map. And whereas Martha went on to write a book entitled The Second Bud, narrating the story of how she and John created a new second life and profession in their 60s by saving John's family farm and starting a winery. Martha won the Georgia Author of the Year award for this book, which chronicles the colorful characters of old-time Appalachia with the new visions of a flourishing modern farm winery. And whereas Martha's family remembers her as bigger than life, a woman ahead of her time, strong-willed, and committed to the environment, to justice, to her family, and the communities in which she lived. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 74th General Assembly of the State of Colorado the House of Representatives concurring herein. 1, that in the death of Martha McElvin Ezard, the people of the state of Colorado have lost a devoted public servant, an outstanding citizen, and an invaluable voice for equal rights. 2, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, do hereby extend our deep and heartfelt sympathy to the members of her family. And 3, that we pay tribute to a dedicated, strong-willed, independent-minded woman who strove to leave the world better than she found it. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint memorial be sent to Senator Ezard's children, Shelley Ezard Smith, Lisa Annette Ezard, John Arundel Ezard Jr., grandchildren Georgia Camille O'Farrell, Samuel Devant Smith, Sidney Blair Smith, Sean McCrae Smith, Jonna DeWinter Ezard, Trimble James Ezard, and nieces Martha Catherine Kelly Johnson, Linda Caroline Kelly Ratcliffe, and Stacy Lynn Kelly White.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Please be seated. So I never had the chance to meet Martha, as far as I know. But Senator Martha Ezard, as I have been looking into who she was, what she stood for, and what she did with her life, I feel a deep connection to her. My mom served on the Women's Foundation board. Thank you, Senator Ezard, for helping to start that. My dad grew up in Georgia, where she started a winery. My dad did not have a winery, but spent obviously a lot of time in Georgia as well. And it is just remarkable, as I have looked into what she accomplished, to see what it is that is coming from my state Senate district and the service history that we have here. I want to recognize the members of Senator Ezard's family who are here in the chamber. We have Shelley Ezard Smith and Dr. Brian R. Smith, daughter and son-in-law, if you would stand, please. John Arundel Ezard Jr., her son. Samuel Devant Smith, her grandson. Sidney Blair Smith, granddaughter. Thank you for joining us here today. So like many of us, Senator Ezard served in both chambers of the General Assembly. Unlike many of us, she changed parties. Now, unlike many of us, but like some of us, she changed parties from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. Now, my notes say that I'm supposed to say that it's not that she changed the Democratic Party that I respect this move, but really, I think it was a wise choice that she made in that party switch. So it does reveal, though, that she has a thoughtful, analytical person who is open to new ways of seeing the world and adjusting the way she approaches the world when the facts that she sees doesn't match the way that she shows up. As you just heard, her life was full of eye-opening adventures, and lots of people had many reasons to look up to her. The party switch was one of many changes that she embraced. You heard about her career switch. She had two entirely new careers, journalist and vintner. Her columns and books were the lasting legacy of her passion and wit, and Tiger Mountain Winery, that is a great name, is still going strong under new owners who pay homage to the Ezards on their website and are earning glowing customer reviews. Now, I will say, I think she made some bad decisions. The party switch wasn't one of them, but Colorado wine compared to Georgia wine, so much better. But we'll forgive her for that. There are probably a lot of reasons that she wanted to go back to Georgia. And we, and as a General Assembly, were lucky to have had Senator Martha Ezard. Newspaper readers were lucky to have had her, and the wine-drinking public is really, really lucky to have had her. Incidentally, that is one of my dreams. One day, not Georgia, but maybe one day, to own a winery. So I feel extraordinarily connected to Senator Ezard. I admire her career change halfway through her life, or towards the end of her life. And this memorial is just a reminder that life is as full as we make it. And I think we can all be inspired by the life that she lived. Thank you, colleagues.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was fortunate enough to have met Senator Ezard, and she was a wonderful firebrand of a woman that, for many of you know that I've been training women to run for office for over 2 decades. And when I first started doing that in Colorado in 2004, she was one of the people I was told to call because she was an early trailblazer and someone that was supportive. And so I've always said that women in politics, there's 2 types. There's the ones that lift as you rise, and there's the ones that pull the ladder up behind them. And you come up with a list when you're recruiting women to run for office who can address certain concerns and say, you can do this, I believe in you. You can have a family and you can do this. You can have a job and you can do this. You can switch parties and you can do this. And she was one of those women that when I was recruiting others to run for office, I could have them call. And I knew the conversation was going to be empowering. I knew the conversation was going to be thoughtful and forward-thinking and really changing what democracy looked like. And early in my career, as I was recruiting women to run for office, to have someone that had made such a difference in such a big way, and having her be on my list of women that I could say, she's been there, she's done that, she did a really good job, and she believes in you, and she's willing to talk to you. And so I really appreciate her contribution to everything she did in this building.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Senate Rule 31A for the purpose of allowing current or former members of the House to address the Senate from the well and to consider this memorial.
This takes a 2/3 vote. You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Will the clerk please add Senator Lundin to the roll? Members, the Senate will now stand in recess to hear remarks from members of the House and former members of the Senate. And if you are a former member and you'd like to speak, please feel free to make your way to the well. Senator Blickensderfer.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. I was toying with the idea of announcing that it's me again. I'm in that interesting position of having been one of the younger members of our Senate body when I served here, and the result of that is that I knew most of these people in one form or another, and have a few memories to share. And my friendship with Martha Ezard has nothing to do with serving together, which we did not. She preceded me in the same Senate seat by 2 senators. But I was Martha's intern in 1981, over 40 years ago. And oh my goodness, did she work me hard. I had sat down at my home, sat on the floor with my typewriter and banged out a quick letter to her after she was elected in 1980 and said, if you're at all interested, I am available to help you out and would love to just come by and partake and learn wherever I can. That resulted in a phone call from Martha, which resulted in me going over to the Ezard household. And I know the family will appreciate this, sitting on a stool in Martha's kitchen while she cooked dinner and getting a civics lesson right then and there. It was a great start. And like I say, oh, did she work us hard. Oh, my goodness. I can't speak for any of the succeeding interns who served her, but she had me running down all kinds of things that I really should have known about from high school or college civics, but never really paid much attention to. And of course, at the time, Martha was attending law school, so there were many a time where she'd race into the office, off to school, see you later, and off she went. And we just managed very well. And going to law school and raising a family, oh my goodness, who can do that? Dr. John, bless his heart, was right there by her side throughout, and what a great family they were. She was high energy, and she was always asking me to, like I say, chase down information of one kind or another. One of the great attributes that she brought to this body was her ability to be a quick study. And she could pick up very intricate issues related to water rights, prior appropriation, without a hesitation. Took me forever in law school to learn that. But God bless her, she really did pick up things easily, and that allowed her to forge ahead on any number of issues. But she did get fed up with the Republican Party, and those things happen. But I do want to tell you one thing about Martha's party change that I think is most significant. She made sure that she resigned the seat prior to her party change, thus giving the Republican caucus for then Senate District 20 the opportunity to choose her successor from their Republican ranks. And it is in that vein that I can conclude by saying that Martha was always a class act. And John and Shelley, God bless you, she was a great gal, and she taught all of us well, and we're proud to have served with her and beside her. Thank you.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I renew my motion for Senate Joint Memorial 1 and ask for a roll call vote.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Joint Memorial 1. Will the clerk please poll the members?
Senators Baisley. Baisley, aye. Bridges.
Aye.
Bridges, aye. Buckner. Buckner, aye. Coleman. Coleman, aye. Cutter. Cutter, aye. Danielson. Danielson, aye. Exum. Exum, aye. Janal. Janal, aye. Gonzalez. Gonzalez, aye. Hanson. Hanson, aye. Henriksen. Henriksen, aye. Huckes Lewis. Huckes Lewis, aye. Kirkmeyer. Kirkmeyer, aye. Kolker. Kolker, aye. Liston. Liston, aye. Lundin. Excused. Marchman. Marchman, aye. Michelson Janae. Michelson Janae, aye. Malika. Malika, aye. Pelton B. Pelton B, aye. Pelton R. Pelton R, aye. Priola. Priola, aye. Rich. Rich, aye. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Rodriguez. Rodriguez, aye. Simpson. Simpson, aye. Smallwood. Smallwood, aye. Sullivan. Sullivan, aye. Van Winkle. Van Winkle, aye. Will. Will, aye. Winter. Winter, aye. Zenzinger. Zenzinger, aye. Lundin. Lundin, aye. Senator Tom Blickensderfer. Blickensderfer, aye. Mr. President.
Aye.
President, aye.
With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent to excuse, Senate Joint Memorial 1 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
See no objection. The current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. The Senate will now observe a moment of silence, and the chimes will be rung in memory of Senator Martha Ezard. Thank you to the friends and family for allowing us to be a small part of this memorial in honoring the life of Senator Ezard. The Senate will now stand in a brief recess to greet all of our guests. The Senate will come to order. Mr. Majority Leader. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed out of order. Let's move the Senate proceed out of order to take up second reading of general order, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will now proceed out of order to take up general order, second reading of bills. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills. Senator Zenzinger will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 150?
Senate Bill 150 by Senator Cutter and Representative Froelich concerning requirements for the processing of municipal solid waste in the state.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 150 lay over until Tuesday, March the 12th.
The motion before the body is to lay over Senate Bill 150 until Tuesday, March 12th. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill will be laid over. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 68?
Senate Bill 68 by Senator Janal and Representative Brown concerning end-of-life options for an individual with a terminal illness.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 68 and the HHS committee report.
To the report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The HHS committee added a few amendments, and I will briefly describe those amendments. One reinstates the residency requirement and corresponding definition of the language by restoring the bill to reflect the current law. And this was done with consultation with the stakeholders, especially the disability community, hospice, Catholic bishops, and others. Another amendment clarifies that only mental health professionals in the bill are psychologists and psychiatrists. And again, request to the stakeholders, including the psychiatrists. Another amendment was a result of extensive stakeholder work in that it reflects a lot of data that a lot of it came from Denver Health, where they were seeing 1 in 4 patients dying in the current wait period of 15 days. So we reduced that to 7 days of oral ask for a prescription for the medication with a, if death is within 48 hours, and that is between the patient and the physician, after making that initial request, that the individual may now satisfy the requirements of that 48-hour waiting period instead of 7 days. Again, this was a lot of stakeholdering between Catholic hospitals, hospice, the Colorado Medical Society, and last but not least, amendments that request from Catholic hospital systems to strike a balance with provisional information, but also to cross-reference to patient disclosure requirements that this committee worked on last session. If you recall, that is currently in law and reiterates information to be given to patients, displays of if the hospital partakes in medical aid in dying or not. And I ask for an aye vote on the report from the Health and Human Services Committee.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? The motion before the body is the adoption of the HHS committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, this bill is about choice. Senate Bill 68 is really improving what voters passed overwhelmingly in 2016, Proposition 106, the access to medical aid in dying. And it passed by Colorado voters by 65%. After 6 years of excellent data that's been compiled and collected by CDPHE, we have been able to better serve those who decide to choose medical aid in dying. Folks, this isn't something somebody wants to do. In order for someone to even request this medication, again, they have to be terminally ill within 6 months of dying, but it's just not the best request that they would like to do, and they definitely need it because they're suffering. And under the law, I'll just explain that a little bit for the folks who weren't here in 2016. Terminally ill, mentally capable adults with 6 months or less to live, you can choose to request medication that, once self-ingested, allows the patient to peacefully end their suffering. Again, this bill allows qualified advanced nurse practitioners to participate as providers under the End-of-Life Options Act. Again, it reduces the 15-day waiting period between the first and the second oral request for the 7 days, and the 48 hours if death is imminent within that time frame. Again, it also reinstates the residency requirement and clarifies that mental health professionals in the bill are psychiatrists or psychologists. And this is an adjustment to what the voters decided in 2016 to make this a better, it's a better bill to help people with this choice to end their lives if they're terminally ill. And I ask all of you committee, all of you in this body for an aye vote. It's a choice. So thank you.
Senator Janal, did you have amendments? No. Okay. Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and to the bill sponsor. I appreciate you bringing a bill so delicately that deserves gentle and appropriate handling. Suffering and dying are subjects that we should approach with utmost care. Just really a couple of questions. Didn't have the opportunity to hear the bill in committee, obviously, and it makes substantial both quantitative and qualitative changes from, as you referred to, what the people of Colorado chose to put into law. The quantitative choice or the quantitative change that is being made from what the people voted on is allowing now advanced practice nurses the same prescribing authority as a physician, and that's the qualitative change, and the quantitative choice is this shortening dramatically from 15 days to 48 hours the wait periods. And I wanted to ask the bill sponsor the thinking around changing that prescribing authority into the hands of advanced practice nurses and the substantial movement shortening of the time frame, and curious what the thinking around that is.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for those questions. What we found as far as the advanced nurse practitioners, it is within the scope of practice for advanced nurse practitioners to be able to prescribe this medication. And this would reach out into rural areas, frontier areas, and urban areas, because there are advanced nurse practitioners that people use as their primary care physicians or primary care health providers. So it helps out in that way, and it is within their scope of practice. As far as the 15-day oral request for the medication, for prescription for the medication, cut down to 7 days, that came from Denver Health. There were a number of patients that had requested the medication, and they never made it to the 15 days. And so what we decided on stakeholdering this with medical docs, hospitals, everyone that I had mentioned that is involved in this, that 7 days is maybe, hopefully it will be the right number. But there was also questions about people who are terminally ill and death is imminent within 48 hours. And so that was also added in, that the healthcare provider as well as the patient would be able to make that choice if they are in insufferable pain. So I hope that helps.
Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't need to belabor the point, just we'll ask for a no vote. I think the bill goes too far and removes key safeguards that have been put in place in the past. And for those reasons, in upholding the principle of life, I ask for a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 68. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 68 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the Title II, Senate Bill 94?
Senate Bill 94 by Senators Gonzalez and Exum and Representatives Lindsay and Froelich, concerning safe housing for residential tenants and connection therewith, establishing and clarifying procedures regarding a tenant's claim of the breach of the warranty of habitability.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 94 until Friday, March the 8th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 94 until Friday, March 8th. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill will be laid over until March 8th. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Zinzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met, and they had one bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
March 7, 2024, Mr. President. Your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 68 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 94 laid over until March 8, 2024, and retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 150 laid over until March 12, 2024, and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Zinzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader. Correct myself. Senators Pelton B. With a vote of Senator Van Winkle and Smallwood and Liston. With a vote of 28 ayes, 5 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 68 is amended, passed in second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 94 laid over until 3/8/2024, retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 150 laid over until 3/12/2024, retaining its place on the calendar. Third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1067?
House Bill 1067 by Representatives Ortiz and Bradley and Senators Winter and Liston, concerning ballot access for candidates with disabilities.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move on third reading and final passage, House Bill 1067.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. We discussed this at some length yesterday. While the end goal, the desire for full access to people of every means, in any difference in ability or not, is desirable, and we all seek that. This bill is another in a line of bills that don't think all the way through how it's going to play out, how it's actually going to be put into work, and creates a number of challenges that ultimately put, quite frankly, in this case, both political parties potentially at risk of lawsuit, and the offending piece of the bill that drives me furthest away from a yes vote is the piece that creates a private right of action that will just generate, in my opinion, a cottage industry of lawsuits against the parties. And quite frankly, as crafted, it doesn't even limit it to people with disabilities being able to take that action. If I, as a candidate or a wannabe candidate, am frustrated in some way and want to make a claim that I was dealt with inappropriately, I can do that. The private right of action is open to all individuals, regardless of any disability or participation in a protected class. So based on those two big principles, I'll be a no vote and encourage you to be a no vote on this bill as well. Opposition to 1067. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is really important to provide access to democracy. And when we give access to democracy to those with disabilities, we're actually lifting the boat for everyone to have better access to democracy. It's a common sense solution. I think the idea that it's going to just create all these lawsuits, when I think actually what we're creating is access to democracy, is incredibly important. When we originally as a country passed the ADA, access wasn't just happening on its own. There had to be a law, there had to be accountability, and that's what we're doing today, and I encourage a yes vote.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I would just remind you that the amendment that we put on yesterday that really expanded the ability for all people to be able to petition. You know, we always talk about the right of citizens to petition. Well, this even expands it a little further. It gives basically an extra 14 days with the amendment we put on for the petition process for all candidates, whether they're disabled or whatever. So I would urge an aye vote for House Bill 1067. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1067. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader, Rich, Baisley, Will, Van Winkle, Simpson, Pelton R, Pelton B, Smallwood. With a vote of 24 ayes, 9 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Bill 1067 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Marchman, Sullivan, Gonzalez, Cutter, Roberts, Exum, Danielson, Hanson, Priola, Buckner, Michelson Janae, Colker. Please add the President. Governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the Higher Education Competitive Research Authority Board of Directors for term expiring October 21, 2027, Angela Paccioni, PhD of Denver, Colorado, to serve as the governor's appointee reappointed. Members of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education, effective July 2, 2023, for terms expiring July 1, 2027. Eric Jamal Tucker of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 5th Congressional District, reappointed. Paul Barrick Abramson Jr. of Lakewood, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 7th Congressional District, reappointed. Sarah Hughes of Edwards, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 2nd Congressional District, reappointed.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of all the members on the consideration of governor's appointment consent calendar. Angela Pacione, PhD of Denver, for the Higher Education Competitive Research Authority Board of Directors. Eric Jamal Tucker of Colorado Springs. Paul Barrick Abramson Jr. of Lakewood. Sarah Hughes of Edwards, Colorado, to the Colorado Commission of Higher Ed.
Is there any discussion? Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't want to vote against any of these folks. They're all very, in fact, I know some of them are very perfect for this board. I do just want to point out, though, that with these nominations that the board will be 5 Democrats, 5 unaffiliated voters, and 1 Republican. And when it comes to higher education shouldn't be a partisan board whatsoever or activity. That said, I still plan to be a yes vote today and hope that the governor's office will do better.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is confirmation of all the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? Senator Liston. With a vote of 32 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, those appointments are confirmed. Consideration of governor's appointments. Would the clerk please read the appointments to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education?
Member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education, effective July 2, 2023, for a term expiring July 1, 2027, Anna Temu Otting of Broomfield, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 7th Congressional District, be appointed.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the appointment of Anna Temu Otting to serve as a member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the confirmation of the governor's appointment to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education. Are there any no votes? Senators Rich, Baisley, Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Kirkmeyer, Smallwood, with a vote of 26 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, this appointment is confirmed. Message from the governor.
Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Honorable members of the Colorado Senate, pursuant to the authority vested in the office of the Governor of the State of Colorado, I have the honor to inform you that I have approved and filed with the Secretary of State the following acts. Senate Bill 29, Study Metrics to Measure Criminal Justice System Success, approved on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 4 p.m. Senate Bill 30, Recidivism Definition Working Group, approved on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 4 p.m. Senate Bill 51, Adult Education, approved on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 4 p.m.
Announcements. Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Today we had the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce here, and I presented them with a tribute that they were not able to stay on the floor for, but I'm going to read the tribute to us today. So the Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened in the second regular session of the 74th General Assembly, hereby, I am having problems with my picture of the thing, extends commendation to the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce in honor of International Women's Day. The General Assembly recognizes the Chamber in their 36th year for their work in removing barriers to create employment opportunities, training, and career advancement. Of the 15 women-centered chambers in the country, the Colorado Women's Chamber is one of the largest. With over 100 programs and events held annually, Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce is committed to fostering environments where women's contributions are recognized and valued equally, and where every woman has the opportunity to reach her full potential, has led Colorado to being recognized as the best state for women entrepreneurs. We extend our gratitude to the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce for their continued efforts to make Colorado the #1 state for advancing women, on request of Senator Daphne Michelson Janae, given the 7th day of March to the state capitol, Denver, signed President Stephen Fenberg. They had a very large group of women here this morning. I hope you got to meet them and enjoy some yummy breakfast, and thank you, Colorado Women's Chamber.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 1:30 and 3:57, and we are hearing 3 bills today, 125, 1086, and for action only, 77.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee will meet today on adjournment in the old Supreme Court at about 10:35. And we only have 2 items on the agenda today, House Bill 1060 and House Bill 1139. Thanks so much.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Local Government and Housing Committee will meet upon 15 minutes upon adjournment, about 10:35 to hear House Bill 1098. Thank you.
Senator Priola.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I want to again remind everybody about Monday morning, March 11th. Persian Culture Center and the Women Life Freedom Group will be having a Persian breakfast. Please come to it. It's very enjoyable. I enjoy it every year and hope to see you there. West Foyer.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, we're meeting at 1:30. We have a number of appointments followed by House Bill 1155 and Senate Bill 162. See you there.
Members, Senate State Veteran Military Affairs Committee will be meeting at the Old Supreme Court at 1:30 for members of the State Personnel Board, as well as members of the Colorado Channel Authority Board of Directors. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, March 8th, 2024.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, March 8th, 2024.